Hello, I'm Jason O. Welcome to my movie review for Netflix's Death Note. And so this is the American live-action adaptation of the original source material, written by Sugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. And we've had many different other live-action adaptations from Japan with live-action dramas, movies, all that sort there. Of course, most people know about the original manga and the anime back in 2005. I believe that's when the anime came out, and the manga came out a couple years before that. But America is trying to get in on the anime business. Ghost in the Shell was not very well received critically, and the box office, not really sure how the foreign box office was, but at least for the domestic box office here in America, wasn't really as strong as they probably would have liked it to be. Of course, Scarlett Johansson was cast as a bankable star for the production. That's why they went with a Caucasian actor for that role, and they did the same thing here for Death Note. Netflix picked this up with Adam Wingard directing, director of The Guest, a fantastic film. There are three writers on here: Charlie Palabadianis, Vlas Parlapendianis, the brothers who wrote The Immortals previously, and you have Jeremy Slater, who wrote the Fantastic Four reboots, and the cinematographer for this film is David Tattersall, who wrote The Green Mile and the Star Wars prequels. And so, this film is a jumbled up mess, to say the least. There's lots of things going on here. There's an hour 40 runtime, and you would think that they could have probably used a longer runtime to really flesh out their plots and really flesh out the bigger moments of the film. The things kind of just happen at a very quick and fast pace, and they don't really earn a lot of the big climactic scenes at the end of the film. There's very convoluted moments that are very akin to the anime. However, at least the anime, they built those moments up. They let some moments breathe, thanks to, a long television series runtime. For a film, they didn't really earn the moments in their quick runtime, unfortunately for them. And with all that being said, you have some pretty decent actors in this. Nat Wolff, Willem Dafoe, kind of Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is barely in this film, especially look at the behind-the-scenes features of Death Note. They show at the end of the film where Willem Dafoe is barely in this. He does some voiceover work, and he does some mocap work as well, but it's mostly the work of Jason Liles, who does the more physical interpretation, physical performance of Ryuk in this film. And I thought Willem Dafoe, once they cast him at first, I thought that would be a very great choice. Nat Wolff was pretty questionable, and in this film, he wasn't really the strongest actor to really carry on the main protagonist role of Light Turner. I think it really goes with the writing and the direction of the film. From the foundation of it, that's the biggest problem of this adaptation of Death Note, because Light Turner is a very sympathetic figure. He is motivated by the murderer's mother. The killer was never convicted due to circumstantial reasons that aren't really well fleshed out or explained. It's just the fact that his mother's killer is out there, and the cops here can't really do anything about it because of our justice system here in America. And he is motivated by that fact, and he the Death Note, just falls from the sky. He picks it up, and he exacts his revenge very quickly. Not really much of a spoiler, and kind of, but not really. And he just goes off on a killing spree. For very vague reasons. He's aided by his soon-to-be girlfriend, Mia Sutton, and she's also wants to be part of this as well, delivering justice all across the world, killing those who have done wrong. And she's sort of a sociopath, kind of. Her motivations for joining Light and really taking an interest in Light are pretty vague and not really well explained. And the visual cues don't really make sense with it either, especially at the beginning of the film, where she is a cheerleader. She smokes as well for a high schooler, which isn't really all that strange, I guess, depending on your own high school experience, but still her motivations are pretty lacking for this whole entire film. The whole entire plot of the film isn't really the most faithful adaptation out there. It's not really for the fans of the anime or the manga, so if you are a fan of the original source material, it's not really for you, because the source material is pretty much ignored. I mean, they have some homages to apples, which are kind of just there just for Easter egg, but don't really serve any other purpose or any other symbolic purpose as it does in the anime. And as I said before, Light Turner is a more sympathetic figure. You really feel bad for him because it does feel like he's being manipulated by Mia Sutton, who's sort of a sociopathic character at times, but still her motivation, especially in the climax, I mean, that climax is so over the top and so convoluted. They don't earn those moments because you don't really care about what happens, because these characters are kind of just doing things just for the sake of doing them. And the big, I think the more appeal of the Death Note series, the manga and the anime, is that it provides a lot of Socratic themes and philosophies that can really be debated on what's whether he's doing the good thing, killing people on vigilante justice, or is he doing it in the wrong way. And the best thing about the anime is that it presents it doesn't really provide an answer to that. The film here provides a lot of answers, whether what's right, what's wrong. Light is, bullied in high school, and so you kind of, sympathize with him, with the bullies. And the first 10 minutes of the film, it's like a gory death scene from the Death Note itself, and so it was kind of zany in that sort of way in terms of tone, because you weren't sure whether to take this seriously or not, because they wanted to have these grotesque deaths. There's a huge nightclub scene sort of in the trailer of all these dead bodies everywhere, and you're not really sure whether to see this as a horror film, a goofy B-level horror film, because Nat Wolff gives this very cartoony performance when he sees Reek for the first time. He's screaming like a B-level horror movie, so you're not really sure how much you should take seriously this film. And, speaking with the philosophies of Death Notes, Wisecrack, they did a fantastic analysis, philosophical video looking at Death Notes and really exploring the question of what is justice in the Death Note universe for the characters of Light and L. And speaking of L, he is played by Lakeith Stanfield, and he plays... In the first half of the movie, it's a fantastic performance, really great adaptation of that character. He really gives a fantastic, effective performance that really sees L in the way you would see him in this Americanized version of Death Note. The second half of the film, his character goes way off the walls. He is... so very over the top, I would say, in a very unnecessary sort of way. Just kind of goes off the rails, makes a huge left turn because of this big plot convenience that happens to Watari, who is the only Asian character on this film adaptation. And once that happens, that sort of moments, that's when the film really takes a curveball and really goes off the rails. And speaking of off the rails, there's some very cartoony scenes in this. There's a scene, you'll know when you see it. Like there's this music cue that comes up, and the music makes no sense with this scene or the tone of the film. It's very like it's like a music video starting up with the way the characters are marching off. I think they show this in the trailer as well. It's when there's like people walking off the roof because of what was written on the Death Notes, and it's very much related to the plot itself, and also some of the characters, and some character portrayals as well. But so the very cartoony scene with the music involved, all of the music cues do not make any sense with what's going on, which is surprising because if you look at the guest, all the music cues were fantastic and really fit the tone of that movie. For here in Death Note, it makes very little sense for all the music cues and all the music that is added on to this film. And so a cartoony mess of a movie with the plots. The climax is terrible. It really makes no sense. A lot of convoluted things are happening. Again, the portrayal of Light, it just really portrays the character in the source material. And even then, if you just look at without the source material, if you didn't know what Death Note was, it's not really the strongest character overall for Light, because he is just a passenger to what happens because of Ryuk in the Death Notes, and also all the people around him like Mia and L, and that's not really the strongest character portrayal out there for your protagonist, and whether you should be rooting for him or whether you're just watching him go through life itself, how his life changes because of the Death Notes, and that's all that you're really seeing. You're just exploring this character just reacts to everything around him, not really being a cog into what is going on in a plot. And so for film itself, and also as a film adaptation from its source material, this is a pretty boring film, and also a very over-the-top film where it doesn't really need to be, and it doesn't really seem like it wants to be as well. If this was an over-the-top B-level horror film, it really fails at trying to be that, and really fails at trying to adapt the Death Note franchise itself, because it loses all the philosophical messages that it does present, all the Socratic philosophies that it does present of what is justice, whether Light, his vigilante justice, is justified or not. And also with L, Lake Keith Stanfield did a pretty good performance in the first half of the film, really falls apart in the second half. And Mia, her character was very confusing, very troubling character, just all over the place, not really a very well-defined character, very complex, but in a very bad way. Nat Wolff, his performance as Light, it provided what it was in the script as a sympathetic figure, but it really portrays the Light Yagami character in the original source material. And so for all that being said, I'll give this movie a 0.5 out of 5 rating. It's not really worth your time if you're a fan of the original source material, and it's not really worth your time on Netflix as well. It's not really worth a time-killing movie because it's just all over the place. It's not really sure what it wants to be. It doesn't really say anything about our current justice system. It tries to do that, but it really fails at doing that as well because there's so much else going on in this movie. And so it's really disappointing in that way because everyone's been saying, it's not whitewashing, or, because there's a African-American lead, but even then, it's still localizing. It's still an Americanized version. It's very much a watered-down version of the original source material. And it's very disappointing at that because it seems like Hollywood is trying to make a very good anime adapted TV show, either with Cowboy Bebop coming up, or a movie they tried so many times with Ghost in the Shell this past summer, and now with Death Note. It just really hasn't worked out for various reasons, whether you think they should cast an Asian lead, or they should have filmmakers who really care about the source material. I think a combination of that would be helpful, but what they're doing right now is not really working because Ghost in the Shell flopped, and Death Note, who knows how the numbers will do on Netflix, because Netflix doesn't really always release those numbers, and the reviews so far haven't really been that positive as well, so I'm not really sure how that's going to translate for Netflix's numbers, but still, it can't be anything good for them. And so what do you think about Netflix's Death Note? Put your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also make sure to subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and also like and share this video as well. It really helps me out. Really appreciate all of that. Thank you for watching my movie review for Netflix's Death Note. Hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.